The emergency meeting chamber of the Galactic Council had never been this crowded. Representatives from 32 spacefaring civilizations sat in tense silence as they watched the latest footage from the outer colonies. On the main screen, a pack of metallic-scaled creatures tore through reinforced walls like they were made of paper. The creatures moved with frightening speed, their 6 legs carrying them forward in perfect coordination while their armored tails helped them balance and turn sharply. "Another colony lost," announced Head Counselor Blue, his color-shifting skin displaying patches of dark gray, a sign of deep distress among his species. "The Ravagers have now destroyed 4 settlements in the past month alone. Our strongest containment units have failed. Our best weapons barely scratch their hide." The chamber erupted in worried whispers. The Ravagers had appeared 6 months ago, first attacking remote research stations before moving on to larger targets. Each creature was roughly the size of an Earth wolf, but their ability to survive in the vacuum of space and their incredible strength made them far more dangerous than any natural predator the Council species had encountered before. "Perhaps we should evacuate the entire sector," suggested one of the representatives, their crystalline form vibrating with fear. "We cannot fight these creatures." "Evacuation would mean abandoning 12 major colonies and hundreds of mining operations," countered another council member, this one a floating collection of luminous gases contained within a transparent shell. "The economic impact would be devastating." Head Counselor Blue raised all 4 of his hands, calling for silence. "We have received reports that the Ravagers are breeding. Their numbers will only increase. Evacuation would merely delay the inevitable." The council chamber's AI projected new images, showing close-up footage of the creatures. Their eyes glowed with an inner light, and their movements showed clear signs of intelligence and coordination. They hunted in packs, used basic tactics, and seemed to communicate with each other through some unknown means. "Our scientists have made an interesting discovery," Blue continued, his skin rippling with cautious hope. "The Ravagers show signs of pack behavior similar to predatory species found on many worlds. This suggests they might be capable of being tamed." Laughter erupted from several council members. "Tamed? These monsters," one called out. "They've destroyed our strongest materials. They've killed our best warriors. They can survive in space. How could anyone possibly tame them?" Blue's skin shifted to a pale blue, a sign of determination. "Our researchers have found a species that has a long history of domesticating apex predators. A species that took the most dangerous creatures on their world and turned them into companions and helpers. They even keep them in their homes, treat them as family." The chamber grew quiet. "Which species could be so foolish?" asked the crystalline representative. "They're called humans," Blue answered, projecting images of Earth. The screen showed humans with various animals. Wolves turned to dogs, big cats in sanctuaries, birds of prey on falconers' arms, and even massive marine creatures performing with trainers. "They come from a death world called Earth. Their planet has such high gravity and such dangerous flora and fauna that most council species would consider it uninhabitable. Yet they've not only survived but thrived, largely because they learned to work with predators rather than simply fighting them." More images appeared, humans rehabilitating injured predators, training police dogs, working with therapy animals. "They are the only known species that routinely forms emotional bonds with predatory creatures. They understand them in ways we never could. And most importantly, they aren't afraid to try." "They're primitives," objected another council member. "They've barely reached their own moon. Their technology is centuries behind ours, which is exactly why we need them," Blue countered. "We've tried fighting the Ravagers with technology. We've tried containing them with force. Perhaps it's time to try something different, something that only these humans know how to do." The chamber erupted in heated debate. Many thought it was foolish to trust such an important task to a primitive species. Others worried about revealing their existence to a civilization that wasn't yet part of the council. But as more footage of the Ravagers' destruction played on the screens, the arguments gradually died down. "We have no choice," Blue said finally. "We need their help. The humans have done something none of us have managed. They've learned to communicate with and earn the trust of apex predators. They may be our only hope of stopping the Ravagers before they destroy everything we've built." The vote that followed was close, but in the end, the decision was made. The Council would break its own rules and reach out to Earth. They just hoped these humans were as good with dangerous creatures as their history suggested. The fate of dozens of worlds might depend on it. Tom Reed stood in his backyard, watching a rescued wolf dog learn to trust humans again. The morning sun cast long shadows across the grass as the animal cautiously took food from his outstretched hand. 20 years of working with dangerous animals had taught him patience. Every creature had its own pace, its own way of learning trust. The air suddenly felt different. A soft hum filled the yard, and the wolf dog's ears perked up. Tom looked up to see the impossible, a ship, sleek and silent, hovering above his house. He should have felt scared, but curiosity won out. After all, he'd spent his life learning to read and understand dangerous creatures. These visitors couldn't be more challenging than a wounded tiger. Two beings emerged from the ship in a beam of light. One looked almost like flowing water given form, while the other seemed to be made of shifting colors. The wolf dog growled softly, but stayed calm at Tom's signal. Thomas Reed, the color-shifting one, spoke, its skin rippling with bands of green and blue. "I am Head Counselor Blue of the Galactic Council. We need your help." Tom blinked twice, then nodded. "Would you like some coffee?" The aliens seemed startled by his calm response. 10 minutes later, they sat on his back porch, the wolf dog watching curiously from its bed. The aliens didn't drink the coffee, but they seemed fascinated by its smell. They showed him videos on a device that projected images in midair. Tom watched creatures he'd never imagined tear through space stations and hunting in packs. His mind was already analyzing their movements, their pack structure, the way they communicated. "Everyone says they can't be stopped," Blue explained. "But we've seen humanity's history with predators. You understand them in ways we cannot." Tom replayed certain parts of the footage, watching closely. "They're scared," he said finally. The aliens looked at each other in surprise. "See their posture, the way they move. They're not just attacking. They're defending themselves. They think everything is a threat." He stood up and walked to his office, returning with a tablet. "Look at this." He showed them footage of wolves, lions, and other predators. Similar behaviors. When apex predators feel threatened, they become more aggressive. But with understanding and patience, even the most dangerous creatures can learn trust. "Will you help us?" Blue asked. Tom smiled. "I'll need a team. I know just the people." He made some calls. Within hours, Kate Miller arrived, fresh from her big cat sanctuary, where she rehabilitated abused tigers and lions. Jack Stone came next, leaving his dog rehabilitation center in capable hands. Both took the existence of aliens with surprising calm. People who worked with dangerous animals learned to stay level-headed in strange situations. "The footage shows clear pack dynamics," Kate said, studying the videos. "Complex social structures, like wolves but more sophisticated. They're not mindless killers." Jack nodded in agreement. "They're using subsonic communication. Look at their throat movements. Similar to how big cats communicate. We'll need special equipment to hear their full range of sounds." The aliens watched in amazement as the three humans discussed the Ravagers, like they were simply another species to understand, not an unstoppable threat. They talked about behavior patterns, stress signals, and potential ways to establish communication. "We'll need a secure facility," Tom told Blue. "Somewhere we can work with them safely. And we'll need complete access to all your footage and data about them." "You're not afraid?" the liquid-like alien asked. Kate laughed. "Of course we are. Fear keeps you respectful. But fear doesn't mean you can't understand and help." Every creature wants to feel safe, Jack added. Even the most dangerous ones. Sometimes they're dangerous because they don't feel safe. Tom looked at the footage again, watching the Ravagers move with their deadly grace. We'll need to start with younger ones if possible. And we'll need time. You can't rush trust. Blue's skin shifted to show patches of what they learned was hope. You really think you can help them? We can try, Tom said. Humanity's got a pretty good track record with making friends with dangerous creatures. Let's see if we can add space wolves to the list. As they planned their next steps, the wolf dog came over and put its head on Tom's knee. He scratched its ears, remembering how aggressive it had been just months ago. Sometimes the most dangerous creatures just needed someone to understand them. Even if these Ravagers were from space, the same principles would apply. Patience, respect, and trust. It had worked for thousands of years on Earth. Maybe it would work among the stars too. The containment facility loomed before them, a massive structure of gleaming metal and force fields. Tom, Kate, and Jack stood in their new protective suits, watching the Ravager pack through the observation window. The creatures moved like liquid metal in the reinforced chamber, their 6 legs carrying them with deadly grace. The force fields only hold them because they haven't really tried to break through yet, the facility's security chief explained. His holographic form flickered with worry. They're learning our defenses faster than we can upgrade them. Tom studied the pack's movements. They had chosen to work with a smaller group first, 5 Ravagers who seemed younger than the others. Even so, each one could tear through spacecraft hull metal like paper. The team had spent 3 days just watching them, learning their patterns. Ready? Tom asked his colleagues. Kate and Jack nodded. They had a plan. It wasn't a very good plan, but it was better than the Council's approach of trying to contain them with increasingly stronger barriers. The airlock cycled, and they entered the outer chamber. Their suits would protect them in the vacuum if the Ravagers breached the hull, but wouldn't do much against those metallic claws. Tom carried what looked like a simple metal pole, something the Council scientists had dismissed as primitive. The Ravagers noticed them immediately. The pack moved as one, forming a defensive circle. Their metallic scales shifted colors slightly, something the team hadn't seen in the videos. "Look at that," Kate whispered over their comm system. "They're not attacking. They're assessing us." Tom took a step forward, holding the pole low and non-threatening. The largest Ravager, probably the pack leader, made a sound that their suits translated into subsonic vibrations they could feel in their bones. "Careful," Jack warned. Their body language just changed. They don't like something about. The attack came with shocking speed. The pack leader launched itself at the barrier between them, its claws leaving deep scratches in material that was supposed to be nearly indestructible. The other Ravagers followed, moving in perfect coordination. "Back. Everyone back," Tom shouted. They retreated to the airlock, their hearts pounding. The Ravagers stopped their attack as soon as the team was out of what they apparently considered their territory. "Well," Kate said once they were safe, "that was educational." Tom nodded, reviewing the footage from their suits. "Did you see how they moved? Perfect pack coordination. And those color changes in their scales. They're communicating." "Not just communicating," Jack added, pulling up enhanced images on the facility's holographic display. "Look at the patterns. It's complex, more like a language than simple signals." They spent the next week making short attempts to enter the Ravager's space, each time trying something different. They tried bringing food, but the Ravagers ignored it. They tried playing recordings of various animal sounds, but that just made them more aggressive. Every attempt ended with a retreat to the airlock. But they were learning. The Ravagers never attacked immediately. They always gave warning signs first. The color changes, the subsonic communications, the defensive formations. They weren't mindless killers. They were intelligent creatures defending their territory. "They're not just pack hunters," Tom announced during their evening review session. "They're a family group. Look at how the younger ones always stay behind the adults. Look at how they share food. These aren't just animals. They're at least as intelligent as dolphins or great apes. More than that, Kate added. See how they've been testing our reactions. Each time we come in, they try something different. They're studying us as much as we're studying them. The breakthrough came on their 9th day. They had just entered the chamber when Jack noticed something odd. The little one on the left, he said quietly. It's copying my movements. The smallest Ravager was indeed mimicking Jack's slow, careful steps. When he stopped, it stopped. When he shifted weight, it shifted weight. Nobody move, Tom whispered. Let's see what it does. The young Ravager took a step forward. The others tensed but didn't stop it. It was curious, and curiosity, Tom knew from experience, was the first step toward trust. It's trying to understand us, Kate said softly. All this time, we've been trying to communicate with them like Earth animals. But they're not animals. They're people. Different, but people. The young Ravager's scales shifted through patterns they hadn't seen before. The others watched, their own scales changing in response. Something was happening. The team stayed perfectly still, hardly daring to breathe. They were finally getting somewhere, not through force or technology, but through patience and observation, the human way of understanding other species. It wasn't much, but it was a start. And sometimes, a start was all you needed. The young Ravager that had shown curiosity became their focus over the next few days. The team nicknamed it Scout, after noticing how it always explored new things first. Scout's scales shifted through beautiful patterns of blue and silver whenever they entered the chamber, which Kate thought might indicate interest rather than aggression. Tom sat cross-legged on the floor of the chamber, ignoring the nervous muttering of the council observers behind the safety glass. He had removed his protective gloves, a move that had caused near panic among the facility staff. But he knew from experience that barriers, even thin ones like gloves, could prevent real connection. Easy now, he said softly as Scout approached. The other Ravagers watched from a distance, their scales rippling with cautious patterns. Scout stopped a few feet away, its glowing eyes fixed on Tom's exposed hands. Kate and Jack stood nearby, ready to help if needed, but they knew this was a crucial moment. You couldn't rush trust. Scout lowered its head, about level with Tom's hands, and made a soft humming sound that vibrated through the floor. That's right, Tom said quietly. Just like that. Nice and easy. Scout's scales shifted to a new pattern, one they'd never seen before. Soft waves of silver and gold. It took another step forward, close enough now that Tom could feel its warm breath on his hands. Look at the others, Kate whispered over their comm system. The rest of the pack had moved closer too, their scales showing similar patterns. They're not just watching. They're learning. Scout made another sound, higher pitched this time. To everyone's surprise, Tom felt something brush against his mind. Not words exactly, but feelings. Curiosity, caution, and something else. Loneliness. They're telepathic, Jack said in awe. The subsonic sounds must help them focus their abilities. Tom kept his breathing steady despite his racing heart. He slowly raised one hand, palm up, just like he'd done thousands of times with nervous wolves and big cats. Scout looked at it for a long moment, then gently pressed its metallic forehead against Tom's palm. The mental contact was stronger now. Images flashed through Tom's mind. Vast spaces between stars, a distant world of crystal forests, the fear and confusion of being lost. Scout's pack wasn't attacking out of aggression. They were trying to find their way home. They're refugees, Tom said softly, keeping his hand steady on Scout's forehead. Their world was destroyed. They've been looking for a new home, but everything's so different. They're scared. Kate moved closer, her movements slow and careful. Scout's scales flickered briefly, but stayed in the calm silver-gold pattern. She knelt beside Tom, and Scout surprised them by reaching out mentally to her as well. Oh, she breathed. They're so lonely. Their species is telepathic. They're used to feeling the thoughts of thousands of others. Out here, they can only reach their immediate pack. It's like being in a silent, empty room. The other Ravagers moved closer, their scales now matching Scout's peaceful pattern. Jack joined them, and soon all three humans were experiencing the gentle brush of curious alien minds against their thoughts. That's why they attack ships and stations, Jack realized. They're looking for others of their kind, but all they find are empty metal boxes full of creatures they can't communicate with. They're not invading, they're searching. Tom smiled as Scout pressed closer, now behaving almost like an oversized cat seeking attention. The other Ravagers were relaxing too, their initial defensiveness fading as they realized the humans were willing to listen, to understand. "We can help them," Tom said, looking at his teammates. "They don't need to be contained. They need to be welcomed, helped to adapt to new environments, introduced to new ways of communication." Through their mental connection, they felt Scout's agreement and hope. The young Ravager had taken a chance on these strange new creatures, and it had paid off. Its pack sent feelings of cautious acceptance. They were tired of running, tired of fighting. Maybe these humans could help them find a new home. The council observers behind the glass were buzzing with excitement. In just a few weeks, the humans had done what the most advanced species in the galaxy couldn't. They had made first contact with the Ravagers, not through technology or force, but through patience, understanding, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Tom scratched under Scout's chin, finding a spot that made its scales ripple with pleasure. Some things, it seemed, were universal. The path to trust was the same everywhere, even among the stars. You just had to be crazy enough to take the first step. Kate spent every possible moment with Scout and its pack over the next few weeks. The containment chamber had been modified to feel more like a home than a prison, with areas for climbing and resting. The Ravagers had helped design it, sharing mental images of their lost world's crystal forests. The engineering team had done their best to recreate those environments using local materials. Scout lay beside Kate as she worked on her tablet, its metallic scales shimmering with comfortable blues and silvers. Through their mental connection, she felt its curiosity about the words she was writing, her notes about Ravager behavior and communication. "Want to learn to read?" she asked. Scout's scales rippled with excitement, and she felt its eager agreement brush against her mind. The young Ravager had an incredible appetite for learning, soaking up everything the humans taught it. Tom entered the chamber, carrying breakfast for both humans and Ravagers. The pack had developed a taste for earth meat, especially beef. The council had been shocked to learn that Ravagers could eat regular food. They had assumed the creatures survived on pure energy or metals because of their metallic scales. "Look at this," Tom said, pulling up a holographic display. It showed other Ravager packs in different facilities responding to the new communication techniques. They're all connecting. Scout's pack has been teaching the others through some kind of long-range telepathic network. The largest Ravager, whom they now called Elder, moved closer to watch the hologram. Its scales showed patterns of deep green, their sign for serious thought. Through their mental link, Elder shared memories of vast networks of Ravager minds, all connected across their home world before its destruction. Jack arrived with more news. "The council's starting to come around," he said, scratching Scout behind its ear sensors. A spot they'd discovered was particularly pleasant for Ravagers. More species are volunteering to host Ravager packs. Turns out lots of worlds have spots that are uninhabitable for most species, but perfect for Ravagers. Scout suddenly stood up, its scales blazing with bright patterns. Through their connection, Kate felt its excitement about an idea. The young Ravager looked at each human in turn, sharing a series of quick mental images. Ravagers helping to explore dangerous worlds, working alongside space crews, using their ability to survive in space to assist with ship repairs. "They want to help," Kate translated for the facility staff watching through the windows. "They're not just asking for sanctuary. They want to be useful, to be part of the galactic community." Elder moved to Scout's side, its scales showing pride in the young one's idea. The rest of the pack added their own thoughts to the mental link. Images of ravagers and various species working together, helping each other, building something new. The humans felt the deep gratitude flowing from the pack. Before meeting them, the ravagers had been lost in more ways than one. They hadn't just lost their home. They had lost their connection to community, to purpose. The humans' willingness to reach out, to be vulnerable, to try understanding them had given them hope again. "We should show them," Tom suggested. The pack's scales all shifted to questioning patterns. Tom smiled and pulled up more holograms, images of Earth's history with animals. Dogs helping with search and rescue, horses working farms, falcons helping hunters, dolphins assisting with underwater operations. This is how we learn to work with Earth's creatures, not by forcing them, but by finding ways to work together. Scout pressed against Kate's side, sharing its warmth. Through their connection, she felt its absolute trust and loyalty. The bond between them had grown stronger than anyone had expected. The Ravagers were not just intelligent. They were deeply emotional beings, capable of profound connections, once they felt safe enough to form them. The facility's head scientist appeared at the window, his holographic form glowing with excitement. "The Council has approved the integration program," he announced. "Any world that wants to host Ravagers will get training from the human team. They're calling it the Harmony Initiative." Kate felt Scout's joy at the news ripple through its scales and into her mind. The young Ravager shared a vision of the future, Ravagers and other species living and working together, their telepathic abilities helping bridge the gaps between different kinds of minds, their strength and space survival abilities helping protect and build rather than destroy. The humans shared a smile. They had done more than just solve the Ravager crisis. They had helped forge a new path forward for the entire galaxy. Sometimes, the craziest solution turned out to be the best one. All it took was the courage to reach out and the patience to listen. The warning alarms blared through the facility, their harsh sound hurting the Ravager's sensitive hearing. Scout's scales flashed with worried patterns as it pressed close to Kate. Through their mental link, she felt its fear, not for itself, but for its pack and their human friends. "Security breach in sectors 2 through 7, the facility's AI announced. "Multiple containment failures detected. All personnel evacuate immediately." Tom rushed into the chamber, his face grim. "Someone sabotaged the containment fields. All the other Ravager packs are loose." Through their mental connection, Elder showed alarm. There were 15 other packs in the facility, most of them still untrusting of other species. Jack appeared at the door, checking the security feeds on his tablet. "It's the Unity Group," he said. "Those council members who didn't want us working with the Ravagers. They're trying to prove the Ravagers can't be trusted." Scout's scales rippled with determination. It shared quick mental images with its pack, and Kate felt their unanimous agreement. The pack wasn't going to run or hide. They were going to help. "The other packs are scared and angry," Kate translated as Scout shared its thoughts. "But Scout's pack can communicate with them. They can help calm them down, explain what's happening." The facility shook as something heavy slammed into the walls. Through the windows, they could see other Ravagers moving through the corridors, their scales bright with fear and aggression. Some were trying to break through the facility's outer walls to escape into space. "The Unity Group is broadcasting high-frequency sounds throughout the facility," Tom said, checking the systems. "They're trying to drive the Ravagers into a frenzy, make them attack everything in sight." Scout suddenly stood tall, its scales glowing with a brilliant pattern none of them had seen before. It let out a complex series of subsonic pulses that they felt in their bones. Elder and the rest of the pack joined in, their mental energies combining into something powerful. Through their connection, Kate felt Scout reaching out to the other packs, sharing memories of working with the humans, of learning to trust, of finding hope for a new future. Elder added its own memories of their lost world, showing how working with other species could help them build something new. The facility's security cameras showed the effect. Other Ravagers stopped their aggressive actions, their scales shifting from angry reds to confused yellows, and then to calmer blues. Scout's pack was helping them understand that not all aliens were enemies. But the Unity group wasn't done. A group of armed security forces burst into the chamber, weapons raised. "Step away from the creatures," their leader ordered the humans. "We're ending this dangerous experiment." Scout moved faster than anyone could follow. It placed itself between the security team and its human friends, its scales blazing with protective patterns. The rest of the pack formed a defensive circle around the humans. Through their mental link, Kate felt their absolute resolution. They would not let their friends be harmed. The security team faltered, clearly not expecting this. Their weapons were designed to hurt Ravagers, not protect against them. And none of their training had prepared them for Ravagers acting as defenders. More Ravagers appeared in the doorway, members of other packs. But instead of attacking, they took up defensive positions. Scout had reached them, helped them understand. The humans had proven themselves friends, and Ravagers protected their friends. "Lower your weapons," Tom said calmly to the security team. "Look around you. Look what's happening. The Ravagers aren't the monsters you think they are. They're people, just like us. Different, but people." Through the facility's cameras, they could see similar scenes playing out everywhere. Ravagers were helping protect staff from the Unity Group's forces. They were using their strength and space survival abilities to seal hull breaches they themselves had made earlier. They were working to protect the facility and the people in it. Scout pressed its head against Kate's hand, sharing feelings of fierce pride and loyalty. The pack had found more than just safety with the humans. They had found a new purpose. The Unity Group had wanted to prove that Ravagers couldn't be trusted. Instead, they had given the Ravagers a chance to prove just how trustworthy they could be. The security team slowly lowered their weapons, realizing they had badly misjudged the situation. The dangerous creatures were protecting the humans, not attacking them. The mindless beasts were showing more wisdom and restraint than their own leaders. Sometimes the best way to prove someone wrong was to show them something they thought impossible. And what could be more impossible than creatures feared throughout the galaxy risking themselves to protect their former enemies? The news spread quickly across the galaxy. Every species watched the security footage from the facility. Footage of Ravagers protecting humans, helping repair damage, and choosing peace over violence. The Unity Group's plan had backfired completely. Instead of proving Ravagers were monsters, they had shown just how far these remarkable creatures had come. 2 months later, Tom stood in the observation deck of a new space station. This one was built specifically for Ravagers and their human partners, with special areas that could be exposed to space so the Ravagers could exercise their natural abilities. Scout pressed against the window, its scales shimmering with joy as it watched young Ravagers playing in the void, learning to work with their human trainers. The councils approved another 20 joint facilities, Kate said, reviewing reports on her tablet. Scout turned to listen, always eager for news. More species are volunteering to host Ravager packs. They're not seen as threats anymore. They're seen as valuable allies. Jack entered the room with Elder, both of them excited about their latest project. Through their mental link, Elder shared images of a new training program they were developing. Ravagers would help with deep space construction, using their ability to survive in vacuum and their incredible strength to build structures no other species could manage alone. The Unity Group leaders have been removed from the council, Tom said, scratching Scout's favorite spot. Turns out lots of species were unhappy with their old-fashioned ideas about other races. The whole incident sparked a big discussion about prejudice and fear in galactic society. Scout's scales rippled with a complex pattern that they now recognized as laughter. The young Ravager shared a memory, its first meeting with the humans, when it had been so scared and defensive. How strange to think that fear and mistrust had almost prevented such a wonderful partnership. Through the window, they watched a new group of human trainers arriving. Each had been carefully chosen for their experience with Earth's dangerous animals, their patience, and their ability to form bonds of trust. The Ravagers gathered to greet them, their scales showing excited patterns. "Remember when everyone thought we were crazy?" Kate asked, smiling as she watched the new trainers meeting their Ravager partners. "Working with space monsters," they said. "Too dangerous," they said. Scout bumped her shoulder gently, sharing feelings of amusement and affection. The young Ravager had grown into a skilled teacher, helping other packs learn to trust and work with their new allies. Its pack had become leaders in the integration program, showing others how beautiful the partnership between species could be. The station's AI announced the arrival of more guests, representatives from worlds that had never dared to join the galactic community before. They were species that lived in extreme environments, ones that other races found too harsh or dangerous. But now, seeing how the Ravagers had been welcomed, they felt ready to reach out. "Looks like we started something bigger than we thought," Tom said. Through their mental connection, Elder shared images of the future, a galaxy where differences were seen as strengths, where fear was overcome by understanding, where every species could find its place. Scout led them to the airlock chamber. It was time for their daily spacewalk, something that had once terrified the facility staff, but was now a normal sight. The humans checked their protective suits while Scout's scales shifted to excited silvers and blues. They stepped out into the void together, humans and Ravagers, moving among the stars. Scout's pack surrounded them, their scales reflecting starlight like living constellations. Through their mental link, they shared their joy of the moment. The freedom, the trust, the friendship that had seemed impossible just months ago. Other Ravager packs were out there too, working with their human partners on various projects. Some were helping repair satellites, others were building new structures, and some were just enjoying the freedom to be themselves without fear. Kate reached out to touch Scout's scales, feeling the warmth and strength in its metallic hide. The young Ravager sent her a feeling of complete contentment. It had found more than just safety with the humans. It had found a new home, a new purpose, a new family. Looking out at the star-filled expanse, they all felt the truth of what they had achieved. Sometimes the craziest solutions were the best ones. Sometimes the scariest creatures could become the most loyal friends. And sometimes all it took to change the galaxy was the courage to reach out and the wisdom to be patient. After all, as humans had always known, love and trust could tame the wildest hearts, even ones wrapped in metallic scales among the stars.